Well, it's that time of year again. No, not just football season, but the time of year where we have no idea who the heck is any good. Grossi Posse Packer Nation. Welcome to another episode of Podcast, the podcast where you don't have to be Packers fan, but it sure does help. I'm your host, Tom. Yeah, this is going to be insane. Grossi, and welcome to week 2 of the NFL. Week 1 is in the books, and it was insane. Some of the top contenders lost, some of them embarrassingly so. Looking at you, Bengals. And so week 2, in case you're new to this, is kind of the week where things go insane, because usually, for example, I think the Chiefs are going to be a good football team. I think they're going to rebound. Chris Jones, he has a restructured contract. That's great. And so they're still on the list even though they lost, but they're not going to be in the top 5 because they did lose to another team. So it's a little bit of season projections, but week 2 is usually a time where you're going to see some teams that maybe won't be in the top 10 a lot this year. Well, congrats. This is your time. And we have a lot of honorable mentions, like the Buccaneers, the Rams, for example, the Saints, the Patriots. Those teams played really well. The Patriots, they lost, but they still played well against the Eagles. And I'm sorry, Kitty Goes Meow, I took you off the list, which was very difficult to do, and I do think the Bengals are going to rebound, but there are just other teams that looked better even in defeat, and based off the quality of the opponent, I'm sorry, Kitty Goes Meow, but you ain't in the top 10 this week. But we're not focused on that. We're focused on who's actually on this list. And so starting off with number 10, and you almost didn't make this list, you got the Buffalo Bills, who on Monday night blew a golden opportunity, and they have nobody to blame but themselves. Josh Allen struggled, and it seemed like for no reason, because yes, the Jets defense is very, very good, but he had 4 turnovers, 2 of those throws, he just yeeted them downfield, and it did not look good, and it just was an unnecessary risk. On top of that, had a fumble, which was really not great, and Josh Allen, after the game, he put it all on himself, saying he was frustrated because it was just like last year when he crapped the bed.
Stop pooping.
And so the Bills, I think, can course correct, but you do have to be concerned as a fan that, is this what Josh Allen is going to be like? He was injured last year, so he kind of got a pass, but he just can't make those really bad mistakes because it wound up costing the Bills a victory that they should have had on Monday night. Now, with Aaron Rodgers out for the season, the Bills' outlook does get a little bit better, but they are not in an easy division. The Dolphins looked really, really good, and as I said before, the Patriots looked pretty darn good. So for the Bills, you hold on because the defense is good, and I'm giving you the benefit of the doubt, and you actually scored points, unlike some other teams. But Bills, we're watching you. Number 9, you got the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm pretty sure this is the lowest I've ever had the Chiefs, but they're going to go back up the list. You know they are. The Chiefs suffering defeat at the hands of the Detroit Lions at home, and yikes, it was a mess. A lot of drop balls. Patrick Mahomes didn't look like himself, and Aiden Hutchinson was a game wrecker in that game. Thankfully, Travis Kelce will return. I know he's week to week, and they're thinking maybe he could be back for the Jacksonville game. And Chris Jones, they just restructured his contract. He's only there for another year, but they gave him a whole bunch of money. And as soon as Chris Jones got into that locker room, I'm sure this was the sight.
You could not live with your own failure. Where did that bring you? Back to me.
And I don't really think there's too many people out there that are deeply concerned about the Chiefs because they were missing 2 of their biggest stars. They are the Chiefs, and they're in a division that is very winnable because right now the Raiders are at the top of it. And so the Chiefs going forward, they are not going to be at the bottom of this list for very long, but there is still a little bit of room for concern that I'm sure Patrick Mahomes will remove in just a couple weeks. Number 8, I put you on the list because you won, and mostly because I felt bad. You got the Baltimore Ravens, who got the W, winning 25-9, but
what did it cost?
it cost them everything. J.K. Dobbins out for the year, which is just tragic, considering they were finally healthy. And what have I been saying all offseason? Just like everybody else, the number one thing for the Ravens is health. The good thing is that Zay Flowers looks good. Lamar Jackson had an okay game. I think he will get better. The Texans were a little bit feisty. And I think overall the Ravens are in good shape, though they are already dealing with a multitude of injuries. But as time goes on, I imagine Flowers is going to get even more comfortable. OBJ should contribute more. But that run game, I mean, they have Justice Hill, who looked pretty darn good, and he has looked good in the past. It's just, this is a pretty big blow for the Ravens, and you just got to hope it doesn't get worse week after week. Number 7, you got a different kitty on this list. You got the Jacksonville Jaguars. Well, Calvin Ridley, after being suspended last year, I think he proved this on Sunday.
Well, who says crime doesn't pay?
Because he looked phenomenal. The preseason hype for Calvin Ridley was definitely warranted, as he looked phenomenal. 8 catches for over 100 yards. The Jaguars defense actually looked pretty good, except for the fourth quarter where they allowed 14 points and the Colts to kind of battle their way back into the game. But Trayvon Walker, their first overall pick from last year, looked pretty darn good, and they're going to hope that he takes that next step in his sophomore season. And while this wasn't the prettiest win, I do have a lot of faith in the Jaguars. I still think they are going to be favorites to win that division, though maybe they're going to have some more competition than previously expected. But overall, the Jaguars stay in the top 10 after a gritty win. Number 6. Live it up, Lions. You got the Detroit Lions. That's right. You're going into the top 10, and all these people talking about asterisks and all that crap. I don't care about any of that. You beat the Kansas City Chiefs at home. I don't care if there was no Chris Jones. I don't care if there was no Travis Kelce. You just played the team that's in front of you, and they played them pretty well. And yes, there were mistakes. Not everything looked great, but they are also missing guys like Jameson Williams, and I imagine those mistakes will get cleaned up as we go along. But let's not mince any words here. This is a huge win for this franchise. And the Lions, they had a ton of confidence heading into Arrowhead.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and bite a kneecap off.
And now they're going to be taking on the Seahawks, who lost last week at home. Ford Field is going to be absolutely electric. And listen, even as a Packers fan, I have a lot of respect for the Lions and what they do. They are the only team in the division right now that has earned that trash talk. They finished last year strong. They should have been in the playoffs. They got hyped to the moon this offseason. And hey, they went out, they won a huge game. Let's see what they can do for the rest of the year. Number 5, didn't think I'd be putting them this high. You got the Cleveland Browns. The Bengals, they were talking a lot last week, and they found out the hard way that the Browns, oof.
He's an angry elf.
That defense was absolutely incredible. They shut down the offense of the Cincinnati Bengals. Hell, they only scored 3 points. Joe Burrow, after getting that huge contract, did not look good, definitely looked a bit rusty. And the Bengals, again, I think that they're going to recoup, they're going to do well. But the Browns have shown that they know how to beat Cincinnati. They've done it a lot over the years. And with Nick Chubb running the way that he is, I think they have potential to be really good. Now, I think there's concern about Deshaun Watson, because he did not look so great, but he also had flashes of the old Deshaun Watson where he was making some really, really good throws. So right now, the Browns, while I think a little inflated because of that defense and their performance against a really great opponent, they find themselves in the top 5. Number 4, you got the Philadelphia Eagles. A little bit of a challenging game for the Eagles, as the Patriots, they were feisty, if you will. But the Eagles, they were able to get it done, much to the chagrin of Patriots fans who were just there to celebrate Tom Brady Day.
I'm so glad you're back.
I've only been gone 5 minutes.
And the star of this game was really Jalen Carter. He was a game wrecker, constantly pressuring Mac Jones. And considering he fell to the Eagles, what a freaking gift for them. If that defense is able to be even better than they were last year, yeah, the Eagles are going to be a huge problem for this league. The offense definitely left some to be desired, but they're going up against a really good Bill Belichick defense. I think they will be just fine this year. So the Eagles, you remain in the top 5, and I imagine they'll be going higher in the weeks to come. Number 3, while there wasn't a lot of defense here, their offense was impressive. You got the Miami Dolphins, which their game plan was basically this.
Airstrikes, bomb them, bomb them, keep bombing them, bomb them again and again.
Unbelievable performance from Tua, who threw nearly 500 yards. Tyreek Hill had 215 yards and 2 touchdowns. And while you do worry about that run defense a little bit because the Chargers ran all over them, it didn't matter. The Dolphins went into LA and I think they shut up a lot of people. And again, this shouldn't be a surprise. Tua was phenomenal when he was on the field. It looked like he was going to be setting records last season before he got hurt. And so now going forward, the Dolphins show that they have a hell of an offense. The defense, I think Vic Fangio will be able to make some adjustments there. But overall, I don't see who's going to be stopping that passing attack anytime soon. And the Dolphins, well, they just became favorites in the AFC East, even though it's only 1 week. Number 2, you got the Dallas Cowboys. And if you missed Sunday Night Football, it was basically this.
Stop! He's already dead.
40-0. And while the offense of the Cowboys was nothing too special, the defense, they basically treated the Giants' offensive line as a revolving door, constantly getting after Daniel Jones, and they just dominated every facet of that game. It was a great performance overall, and if the Cowboys' defense can look like this all year, it's going to be really tough to stop them. The offense, I imagine, will get better as the weeks go along, but the Cowboys are also streaky like that. They can beat up on the Colts and then lose to the Packers. So I'm not totally bought in on the Cowboys, but they had the biggest margin of victory out of all of the week 1 matchups. And so because of that, I got to give them their flowers, and the Cowboys are at number 2. And then finally, number 1, you got the San Francisco 49ers. The 49ers had Steelers thinking about the preseason like this.
We have to go back.
Won 30-7, and even though TJ Watt had a really good game, it didn't matter. The offense with Brock Purdy looked great. It's finally Brandon Ayuk season, or at least it looks like it is, because he's been hyped up for the past few years. Had a huge game, 2 touchdowns, and the 49ers offense looked great. But their defense looked even better. I know it was just preseason, but Kenny Pickett and that offense looked like they were about to go on a tear, and they did nothing of the sort. The 49ers went on the road against a good quality opponent, and they shut down the Steelers at basically every turn. So the 49ers, because of the quality of their opponent and the way they won, yeah, they earned the number 1 spot. And if I'm being totally honest, I did not think there was going to be an NFC team on top of the power rankings this week. But that's the NFL, baby. And so just a quick recap. At number 1, you got the 49ers. 2, the Cowboys. 3, the Dolphins. 4, Eagles. 5, Browns. 6, Lions. 7, Jaguars. 8, Ravens. 9, Chiefs. And 10, Bills. But let me know what you think down in the comments below. Who should be on this list? Who should maybe fall off this list? Let me know. You know, I saw me at TomGrossiComedy.com or TomGrossiComedy, all social media, see down below. Check out podcasts on SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Play Music, Spotify, and of course, YouTube. And a big shout and thank you to all the patrons over at patreon.com/TomGrossiComedy and the YouTube members. But thank you so much for watching. I'm Tom Grossi. And as always, go Pack Go.